In a significant development, both countries have agreed to reduce tariffs or taxes for a period of 90 days. According to U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bassinet, the tariffs will be brought down to 115% for this duration. This announcement was made following negotiations held in Switzerland, which marked the first formal dialogue between the two nations since U.S. President Donald Trump increased tariffs on Chinese goods in January. Trump had imposed a 145% tariff on Chinese products, to which China responded by levying a 125% retaliatory tariff on American goods. This decision had sent shockwaves through global markets and raised fears of an economic crisis. Following the latest progress, the U.S. will reduce tariffs on Chinese goods by 30%, while China will cut tariffs on American goods by up to 10% for the 90-day period. During these negotiations, the U.S. also pressured Beijing to take steps to curb the illegal trade of the drug fentanyl. However, American officials expressed pleasant surprise at China's apparent willingness to address the issue. The U.S. Treasury Secretary stated that both countries are interested in balanced trade and represented their national interests well. This recent announcement has positively impacted the stock market and indicates a cooling down of the trade war. This has raised the question: how did both countries come to the negotiating table this week after weeks of fiery rhetoric? It's worth noting that despite all the announcements and countermeasures, both sides had signaled a willingness to move forward, though it was unclear who would make the first move. Stephen Olson, a former U.S. official working in Singapore, told the BBC that it felt like neither side was willing to back down. In his view, the negotiations are now taking place because both sides believe they haven't shown weakness and can therefore proceed. However, China's foreign ministry spokesperson stated on Wednesday that the talks were taking place at the request of the United States. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce said it was responding to the American request due to concerns of American businesses and consumers. On the other hand, the Trump administration claimed that Chinese officials wanted to negotiate due to the negative impact on their economy. Trump said on Wednesday, "They are saying we initiated it. They should go back and study their own files." As the talks approached, Trump's tone softened. On Thursday, he told reporters, "We can all play games about who made the first call, it doesn't matter. What happens in this room is what really matters." The timing of these negotiations is also significant for Beijing, as Chinese President Xi Jinping is visiting Russia to attend the 80th anniversary celebrations of the Allied victory over Nazi Germany during World War II. Xi stood alongside other heads of state from the global south, sending a reminder to Trump and the U.S. that China has other partners and is positioning itself as an alternative global trade leader. Thus, before coming to the negotiating table, China had already demonstrated its strength. Trump had claimed that the additional tariffs would strengthen America, while China had vowed to fight till the end, but the reality is that both sides were suffering. According to government data, Chinese factories were affected, and manufacturing in April hit its lowest level since December 2023. BBC analysis shows that Chinese exports were also impacted, with finished goods piling up in warehouses. Bert Hoffman, a professor at a university in Singapore, said, "I think China realized that a deal is better than nothing. That's why they thought it's necessary to talk." Meanwhile, for the first time in 3 years, the U.S. economy has shrunk, creating uncertainty. Sectors that rely on Chinese goods are particularly worried. A toy company in Los Angeles told the BBC, "We thought our supply was going to run out." Trump himself acknowledged that American consumers would be hurt. He said, "Maybe American kids will get $2 instead of 30, and even those two might cost more." Amid inflation and fears of a potential economic crisis, Trump's public approval ratings dropped, and 60% of Americans felt he was focusing too much on tariffs. According to Olson, both countries are under pressure and want to reassure anxious markets, businesses, and their citizens. He believes this round of talks served that purpose. Hoffman noted that if a positive attitude emerges during this round, the discussions are likely to progress further, as now seems to be the case. The negotiation process could last for months, as it did during Trump's first term. In 2020, after increasing tariffs, the U.S. and China reached an agreement to suspend or reduce certain tariffs. Olson believes that this time, the two nations may try to resolve larger issues, including the fentanyl problem. Experts say it will take time. Olson commented, "The factors that have caused cracks in US-China relations won't be resolved quickly." However, he added that at the very least, the recent talks have paved the way for open negotiations and reaffirmed the desire to continue